Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. It is Monday. We've done another week. Friday's show was fun, a little risque, as it often is when Frank is there, but we had a good time. It was good. Who we have in the chat today on the With Beanz show? We have Smith here, Dr. Mark is here. Dr. Mark is here. Everyone. Dr. Mark is here. We have, who else? Seashore in the chat. It's quiet today. Robin's here. Jamie's here. I know that my Will is watching somewhere downstairs. It has been a crazy day. Hands down. Future folk, welcome. Good afternoon to you too. If you are listening to this on a streaming audio podcast platform, please do me a big favor. Share it with your friends. Leave a review. And if you want to, a nice comment. Tracy's here too. Hi, Tracy. It helps me quite a bit. Also, if you're watching this on any streaming service as it happens live, like Rumble or Getter or X, please hit the thumbs up, share it out with your friends, get more people involved. The title of today's show is The Corruption Surrounding Food. And I think it's important we discuss this stuff because it's wild what's going on. And let me just adjust this. There we go, a little bit, so I'm not so little in the frame. It's something obviously I'm very passionate about, and I think that we should absolutely discuss it at length, and we're going to. But I wanted to start off with this I had this for last week, and I wanted to start off with this really compelling clip.
Here's how you know somebody is strong, like truly powerful. And this goes back to a simple quote from Goethe, where he's paraphrasing Francis de Assisi, who once wrote, "There is nothing so strong as gentleness, and nothing so gentle as true strength." And what he meant is that a weak person tries to dominate and conquer others. A strong person simply tries to master themselves. Which is to say, a weak person's idea of strength is to make other people feel small, but a strong person realizes that they can lift other people up, that they can help them and make them feel safe. And this is why strength is gentle. It is calm and poised. It is measured and collected. It is full of grace. A truly strong person will always be able to take care of others, because they have taken care of themselves. There is nothing so gentle as true strength.
How beautiful is that? And how true. So poignant. It really caused some self-reflection, some introspection, and gave me a little bit to think about over the weekend. So I poured this around in my head as I watched on social media this absolute war going on between very religious people or people who, adhere to a certain faith or other, arguing with one another all weekend long about who's saying things and who's not saying things. And I was just watching this as somebody who is very, very, very close to God, myself, wondering, and doesn't adhere to any traditional, quote, faith, I guess you could say, was just wondering, like, what people get out of this, arguing with one another about their belief in God. And then I said something about it, which was silly. I said, I don't know that God wants us all to be hating each other and arguing with each other all the time. I think that might not be what God wants. Like, if he looks down on earth to see just a bunch of people fighting with each other all the time. And of course, then in the comments, there was a lot of judgment about that, which, I don't know, I'm buttoning this up because I'm actually cold, which bothered me because that was like the exact opposite of what I was trying to say. And I tried to kind of make a point about that and say, look, like, not everybody believes the same thing. They're as firm in their belief as you are in yours. Can we let bygones be bygones, be comfortable in our own faith, And just, if we don't socialize with people, just not spend all this capital arguing with people who clearly are not going to agree with you about it. Another cool thing happened over the weekend, though. I didn't even have this up. Stupid me. We talked about my dad the other day on the show and what he's doing right now. And I said, oh, he's making flags. And so I pulled up, I went to his house to talk to him about something else, went to mom and dad's, and here are the flags, and they're out. He's like, I just finished a small one. And I'm like, ooh. So I took a picture of these beautiful creations. These are wood. He made them by hand. As a matter of fact, I have some pictures of the process in the notes here, in the comments underneath, of how they come together. And people really want these flags. People really love them, and they're clamoring for these flags. So now he's trying to figure out, because he's not a business, he's trying to figure out how to get these flags into the hands of people that want them. It's been a hell of a weekend trying to collaborate all of that, and so many kind compliments and things that people have said. And it's cool when you make something or create something to see other people appreciate what goes into it and how great it is. And so that happened over the weekend too, before we get into the food stuff. If I promote this post, I can reach up to 100K more users right now. My dad would kill me. Boost engagement, get more likes, get more link clicks. 18 to 55, let's just say, any gender, why not? $500 over 5 days. Well, that's a hell of a cost. No, I'll skip that. Not this one. Don't promote. My daughter's calling me, but I'm in the middle of my show. Anyway, moving to food. We had a very big week at... Hello, Joe. Good afternoon. We had a very big week at HHS, and I have a couple clips to play for you. One of them is this one, which I absolutely loved. Here we go.
You know, if you get it used to be when you and I were kids, everybody got measles. And the measles gave you lifetime protection against measles infection. The vaccine doesn't do that. The vaccine is effective for some people for life, but many people, it wanes. And one of the problems is it does not appear to provide maternal immunity. It used to be a very young kid. You don't want a 1-year-old kid getting measles. That's very dangerous. They were protected by breast milk and by maternal immunity. But women who get vaccinated do not provide that level of maternal immunity that the natural measles infection did. So you're now seeing measles hit very, very young kids and hitting older people within whom the vaccine has waned. And that is something that we need to worry about and that we're looking at HHS.
First of all,
So there you had a scientific explanation of why we're having any measles outbreaks at all. And the reason, the core of it at the end of the day, is because natural infection isn't conferring longer immunity times, and the moms are not passing that down, and vaccines do not protect you in perpetuity, and the immunity is short-lived or shorter-lived. Basically, letting us all know what we already knew. Natural immunity is superior to anything that science can create. So after all the hubbub about his comments about the MMR vaccine, which I understand why people were upset about, this was something that we don't often get from HHS, which was some direct science-based conversation and reasons why things are happening the way they are. Honest, transparent, forward-thinking science coming out of our health administration. I would rather be told that than lied to about the safety and efficacy of poison. I really would. Like, the American people as a whole would rather be told the truth, even if it's hard, than be sold a lie that can hurt them, so that we can line the pockets of pharmaceutical companies and food distributors who also happen to be in bed with pharmaceutical companies. The shock. Unbelievable. So we're going to go through some of this today. There are a number of different things going on here, different verticals within the administration, and a number of different departments in charge of those verticals, for lack of a better word. One of them is Department of Agriculture, that is in charge of the livestock and the mRNA shots going into or not going into that livestock. That's Brooke Rollins, separate and apart from HHS. Another thing is that the Department of Agriculture also is administrating the food stamp program. And while I am against welfare of all kinds, because I think that it disincentivizes people, and private charity could probably do a better job of supporting those who need help. I think that the welfare system just incentivizes people to not get help and not do what they should do to lift themselves up should they fall down. It also has created this absolutely terrible wheel of corruption and illness that we need to stop right now. It used to be that the government gave out food benefits to people, or food stamps to people, and then they would have like a list of things they weren't allowed to buy, alcohol and things like that. That went away, and the amount of money that people are getting has increased, and people are allowed to buy whatever they want. And a lot of the times they'll go for the unhealthy stuff. And that's solely what they'll exist on, is the unhealthy, chemical-laden preservatives, foods, seed oils, dyes, all of the grass stuff that's allowed to be put in food here in the United States of America. And people will argue the free market, the free market will handle this. Well, we don't have a free market in food when the government is subsidizing the food and the companies that make it. That is the problem. The government subsidy, because there's no incentive for any of these companies to do the right thing when they're just being handed boatloads of cash in the form of our tax dollars being given out all over the place. And so a lot of people are using their SNAP benefits to go out and buy unhealthy food. Once they buy the unhealthy food, then they're sick. Once they get sick, they're relying on government health care. Once they're relying on government health care, they're relying on big pharma. Once they're relying on you see how it goes. They'll always be sick. They'll always be sick because there is an interest in keeping them alive but sick. Alive but sick. This is the way it works. So when I saw this, it was really actually a breath of fresh air to hear her speaking so intelligently. And I might add, so authentically in this clip. I really felt her authenticity in this. And it was really nice to see, because I watch a Pam Bondi on Fox News and I want to throw myself through the television screen when I see it. So here, let's listen to Brooke.
This is it's sort of an iconic moment. Beef tallow for the fries, making America healthy again. You gotta love it, right? And
I loved it.
Yeah, and you gotta say, like, this is the good first step, right? Like, there's no such thing as perfect, and we gotta unwind a lot of poisons in our...
So this is, just to put it out there, this is kind of the cover for Steak and Shake, and I'll tell you, we did that whole episode on Steak and Shake, and they came out, and they did say that their fries are pre-fried in seed oils. Finally, after a week of us saying, can you just make a statement on your fries? The other problem, again, is that the fries aren't actually really potatoes, but it's not exclusive to them. This is everywhere. They're not really potatoes. You're eating a bunch of garbage when you eat fries from a place like this. But that aside, Steak and Shake really truly is making a valiant effort here. They're going to be working to remove seed oils and other things from their buns. They're switching over to using 100% pure butter. So they are I was very encouraged by what I saw out of Steak and Shake over the past couple days. Am I on the Steak and Shake train? No, I'm not. But it was encouraging to see them so openly talking about the steps they will actually be taking to do these things in a transparent way. Didn't mean to interrupt you guys. My bad. Here we go.
Food and healthcare industries, but this is a good first step, right? Like this major brand deciding to go healthy.
It is. Healthy. It's remarkable.
They're not healthy. Please take that word healthy out of here. They're not. You're not eating healthy food when you go to Steak and Shake. Let's just dispense ourselves with that notion. Are you eating convenient food? Yes. Are you eating food that's a little better than other places? Yes. Are you eating healthy? No, you're not. It's very important how we discuss these things.
And I will tell you this, my very next meeting that we will be discussing today is with Secretary Kennedy, but also across the federal government, how we take the MAHA Commission, but more importantly, the new MAHA movement, and how we fold that into real policy enactment for the American people. For me at USDA, obviously agriculture and the production of our food is a big part of that. But also, Benny, what your viewers may not know is that I'm in charge of food stamps. It's the largest part of the USDA budget. The fact that our taxpayers are funding the food stamp program to the numbers in the hundreds of billions, and yet people on food stamps, which are those with the least among us, those at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder, are taking that and spending it because they can on Cokes, on sugary snacks, on candy, and that has to change. It has.
All right, Benny.
To change. So not only I think is Secretary Kennedy bringing a whole new energy and narrative and framing to what it is we're working to do, which is not only make America great again, but make America healthy again. But for me, the exciting part is to get to work together as a cabinet, as a team for President Trump in this, I believe, revolution. We're in a revolution in many ways. We're, returning our country to the people, peace through strength, securing our border, but also making America healthy again. It's a revolution, and what a joy to be a part of it.
I know we're up against a hard out, but very quickly here, you mentioned food stamps. This is something that's a thorn in a lot of people's paw that really want to get America healthy, is that food stamps can be used to purchase some of the most unhealthy products on the market. What's your plan to deal with that, to regulate it, to change that? Is there a plan?
Well, the good news is, and I am such a believer, Benny, you know this, in federalism and the 10th Amendment and the founders' vision of a little bitty federal government and the power being with the people out in the states and the local communities. I'm working with more than a dozen governors right now, because what has to happen to be able to effectuate that is the states themselves have to seek a waiver. And then we at USDA grant the waiver. Can you believe we're going to waive you from, basically feeding your poor children, lots of bad things. Yeah. But I'm working with those governors already. I'm already working with Secretary Kennedy. You're going to be seeing a lot of announcements on this over the coming months. I'm also working on the Hill with Congress to see if there is a way to move forward at the federal level. So my approach has always been all hands on deck. We've got a country to save. We have a population with a chronic disease problem, with obesity problem, whatever USDA can do to help on that. But Benny, I have to say at the same time, protecting and defending our American farmers and ranchers and producers, there is a balance there. And
there's no what balance? That part just threw me. It's very easy. Change the labeling standards for your meat. Don't let foreign beef be labeled U.S. beef. Let's prop and raise up our farmers and ranchers in the right way. Let's allow them to partake in regenerative farming. If you're going to eat fruits and vegetables, let's make sure they're grown in actual soil with nutrients so that those nutrients pass into the plant, which pass into you. Let's make sure that, you know, there's not these big conglomerates like Bayer Monsanto coming out and spraying chemicals all over our plants, modifying seeds, and then when the wind blows on the farm next to you that's owned by the small farmer, suing them out of existence for growing your patented plant, okay? This is a super important section of everything that is not getting the right attention. Let's stop culling or causing our farmers to kill and slaughter tens of thousands, if not 1 million chickens. Let's stop forcing our farmers to vaccinate their animals with vaccines that, like, there are a lot of things you can do. There's no balance. If more people were buying organic, regeneratively grown vegetables, they wouldn't be going out to, and if they could be produced in a way that is cost efficient, because the government's not subsidizing big farmers and big ag, then this problem would go away. People would be able to afford organic blueberries that are costing, I don't even know how much now, how much are organic blueberries? The government is causing all of these problems because they're in bed with what we're about to show you in a second, which I couldn't even believe that I was seeing when I saw it. It was mind-blowing to me. If I want organic blueberries, I am spending a fortune on them. It's pretty sad. This film came out a while ago. This film is, let's see, March 27th, 2024, almost a year ago. Grace Price released this food. I think she doesn't go far enough in it, but she's a student and she's a young woman and she's on the right track. And she made this. I'm going to show you a little bit of the beginning. She made this video because of her grandfather and this movie, and it's pretty amazing. Here.
My name is Grace Price, and I am filming a documentary. Right now we're waiting to see if any of the people in the reserved spots at the Whataburger headquarters are going to come out for their lunch break.
So I have a quick question for you. Do you work for Whataburger? I'm really concerned about the health of my generation, foods that y'all are using.
I'm not getting on the video.
I'm sorry, I'm running late for it.
Okay.
Ladies, how are y'all doing? We've been having some concerns about y'all recording. This whole area right here is Whataburger, the Whataburger home office.
What are these fast food executives also afraid of? I'm just a teenager making a documentary about... Cancer is greedy. Cancer is deceptive.
The current idea that cancer is a genetic disease is based on ideology, not on the science any longer.
Cancer is frustrating.
We have so much control over our health, and it comes down to diet.
Healthcare and medicine is extremely siloed. Cancer is deflating.
We spend 40 times more on cures for cancer than researching prevention.
Our American society doesn't care about prevention.
The entire documentary is about food being a root cause of cancer. And I absolutely loved this movie. I will absolutely share it in the description box below. It's available for free. You can watch it online. And she did not stop there. So she went down in Texas to lobby on behalf of a bill that is really beautiful, actually, that changes Texas in a very serious way. And I almost can't believe I'm even gonna listen to this. This is insane.
Yesterday, I testified at the Texas State Capitol for SB 379. SB 379 is a necessary step to align SNAP with its mission, which aims to eliminate cookies, soda, and candy from purchasing items under the food stamp program. You will not believe who actually showed up in opposition to this bill.
My name is Puente, and I'm the Director of Government Relations for the American Heart Association. I'm here to testify today in opposition to Senate Bill 379.
The American Heart Association. And I was not the only one who was surprised by this.
That might be the surprise of the session so far.
Here's what the American Heart Association representative had to say.
The Heart Association is concerned about potential impacts of this bill on participation and population health. We get into the other issues of how exactly we define a lot of these things.
Here's what I was arguing for in my testimony for the bill. America has an obesity crisis, and products like soda and candy funded by SNAP are making it worse. In 2014, we stood up against addictive products in SNAP by removing tobacco and alcohol. Now, a decade later, it is time we do the same for candy and soda. Although this shouldn't come as a huge surprise when we look at who the American Heart Association has accepted donations from in the past, which is largely big pharmaceutical companies and even big food companies like Kellogg's and Pepsi. Thank you to Senator Kolkhorst for actually calling him out.
I would encourage you to look at what it restricts.
This is why we need the Make America Healthy Again movement now more than ever. I will keep you guys updated on this story. I'm still absolutely appalled that it's happening, but follow this account for more, because if you want to understand what's actually happening behind the scenes, here's a real life example.
The American Heart Association in Texas to lobby against a bill that would make it so that people can't, on SNAP benefits, can't buy junk food with their SNAP benefits, which are your tax dollars. Straight up. The American Heart Association is worried that people won't go out and buy food if they can't buy poison. And they went to testify against the American Heart Association.
Candies, sodas, cookies, and chips from the food stamp program in order to curb chronic disease in America. Interestingly enough, the number one organization who showed up in opposition to the bill was the American Heart Association.
My name is Puente, and I'm the Director of Government Relations for the American Heart Association. I'm here to testify today in opposition to Senate Bill 379.
Now, you may be wondering, why would the American Heart Association do this? All you have to do is go to their website and take a look at their forum members. General Mills and PepsiCo are two of their top members. General Mills is a food conglomerate that owns your kids' favorite sugary cereal brands like Trix and Cookie Crisps, Cocoa Puffs, and even Dunkaroos. PepsiCo, on the other hand, not only owns drink brands like Gatorade and Mountain Dew, but also owns top chip brands like Fritos, Lay's, and Doritos because they merged with Frito-Lay's in 1965. SB 379 was such a huge conflict that the American Heart Association had to send a representative to oppose a bill that is for what the American Heart Association claims to be fighting for, which is preventing heart disease, and instead they are choosing to promote it, and along with that, promote the profit and well-being of their partners like General Mills and PepsiCo. This is why it's so hard to remove junk food from SNAP and the National School Lunch Program, because these big food conglomerates know that the most profitable thing in this country is a child. And when you get a child addicted to your food, then you have a customer for life. It's extremely unfortunate that the American Heart Association isn't choosing to stand with our children right now. They're instead choosing to fight against them.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But believable. She said the key word. It's addictive. And oh boy, is it addictive. It is designed to be addictive. What is happening right now in our country is beautiful. It is amazing. So many people are starting to learn what is happening. What they're putting in their bodies every day is making them sick. And they're choosing to fight against it, like Grace did right there. Here's a list of some of the people. The NFL Foundation, Novant Health, Novartis Mexico, Novartis Pharmaceutical Corporation. Why would a pharmaceutical corporation have a vested interest in heart healthiness? Why would a pharmaceutical, because it's corrupt. It's all BS. Pfizer, Penn Medicine, Quest Diagnostics. Quest Diagnostics wants more labs, not less. Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Kaiser Permanente. This is what it is. Get people addicted to your food. Who gives a crap if the side effect of that is that they're on pharmaceutical medications? The pharmaceutical company, of course, are going to support the American Heart Association, who is enabling this to happen with their powerful lobbyists and everything else. Like, they have a government relations specialist testifying against bills that would make people more heart healthy. And when people say, like, oh, we need government intervention out of our food, I agree. But if we're going to keep funding welfare and SNAP with our tax dollars, the government has to do something about this. And they are. So that's amazing. And what's even more amazing is another bill that passed in Texas. This bill passed, SB25. Unanimously passed. It's called Make Texans Healthy Again. It establishes a nutrition advisory council with the focus on metabolic health, functional medicine, and chronic disease. It requires food labels to warn consumers which ingredients are banned in other countries. It requires daily physical education and prohibits the removal of recess, physical education, and sports practice for disciplinary reasons. It requires updated nutrition training for all Texas physicians, medical residents, and medical students. Because one of the things, I'll get into this in a second, the rest of it, but one of the things that was startling to me the more that I started doing research into the statistics behind chronic disease and metabolic, sickness was how few hours under the required amount of nutritional training is done for doctors in school, in medical school. Medical students are supposed to get, I think, 180 hours of nutrition training in their schooling, and they don't even come close to that. None of the major medical schools spends any time on training on nutrition. They're basically training for doling out prescriptions. And one of the reasons that's happening is because the NIH used to fund, they still do. They fund a certain amount of money to the research colleges with medicine. They fund that. And the research colleges were getting upset that it wasn't more. So they went out to private funding to do their research. And who stepped in to fund them? Big Pharma. Big Pharma steps in to fund the research being done at institutions, so that Big Pharma is now in charge of the research being done at these medical schools and science, in science laboratories at institutions of higher learning in this country. Tell me why that isn't a problem. Anyone. The name of this bill was SRCCES Bill 2589 here. It's SB 25. Committee substitute changes. This expands physical education requirements and prohibitions to charter schools, expands required nutrition education to Texas high schools and institutions of higher education, removes the 3% ownership interest in a food, beverage, or pharmaceutical company, prohibits an individual from asserting a private right of action against a manufacturer for improper labeling. I guess that was a concession they needed to put in. Authorizes the Attorney General to assert a claim against a manufacturer for improper labeling. That could be weaponized. I see it's a bad part of this bill, but okay. Includes a set list of ingredients banned in Australia, the UK, the EU, and Canada to be used for labeling purposes. Applies only to a food product label developed or copyrighted on or after January 1st, 2027. So you got 2 years for this to go into effect. And this is why when everybody jumps up and down happy about the food dye being banned, which it's great, it's fantastic, I say, how about we stop feeding our kids cereal? I know it's a crazy concept, and I actually got into arguments with people about the fact that they don't have enough time to make breakfast for their kids in the morning, to which I say, well, then how about we just skip breakfast and give them a nice nutritious meal in the evening time? But I wanted to play this for you because I argue that this stuff doesn't go far enough. And I know it's baby steps, but they're still eating frickin' cereal. And that cereal is made from wheat and corn and other things that are treated with pesticides.
I am all for fighting food companies to stop putting dyes and seed oils in our foods. But you know what would be even better? Just to not eat those foods in the first place. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to feed my kids Lucky Charms regardless of if there's food dyes in them or not. So while I think it is worth the fight because people are going to eat those foods regardless, I also think we need to spread the word about proper nutrition. If you look around at our country, the majority of the people are metabolically unhealthy. So teaching them proper nutrition is going to be the way to go. And hopefully they will make those small changes on their own. You know, I think most people can benefit from a low carb diet. And I'm not even saying they need to eat carnivore or even keto. Low carb still allows for quite a few carbs. But I wonder just how many carbs is the average American person eating? It's got to be a lot because we're also having a mental health crisis and their brains are inflamed. So while I am all for fighting these companies to remove dyes, I really think you should just start the day off with some steak and eggs and skip the Lucky Charms. I am all for...
Oh, woman after my own heart. Yes. We'll get there eventually. We will. We will get there. We're not extremists. We're just trying to educate on how inflammatory this stuff is. And it is directly tied to mental health and wellness, which if you've been watching this show for any period of time, you know is part of the wheel that I describe all the time. People who are unwell are giving their power away to other people. They're depressed, they're sad, they're disconnected from God. Gigi's saying people are not feeding their kids cereal anymore. I'm watching places like Fetch giving lots of points for General Mills cereal because no one's buying them. The shelves are full. Good. That's great to hear. I absolutely love it. And one more thing happened over the weekend, or over last week, the end of last week. And it was this. This is interesting too.
Of the election, President Trump repeatedly called for removing toxins from our food supply. He added his voice to the millions of MAHA moms who were touting the Make America Healthy Again agenda. The first step is radical transparency because right now, not even the U.S. government knows what's in our food. In 1958, the government created a designation called Generally Recognized as Safe, or GRAS, so that we can make common ingredients like salt and baking soda exempt from testing. But today, it isn't just salt and baking soda. Food companies and cooperative regulators have enlarged the GRAS exemption so that these companies can decide for themselves whether a substance is generally recognized as safe. No FDA approval is needed. European nations, on the other hand, require that a chemical be proven safe before it becomes a food ingredient. In our country, the GRAS standard means that every chemical is presumed safe until proven dangerous, and that proof might not happen until millions of Americans are sick with chronic disease. This mass experiment on the American population with GRAS has, in short, been a catastrophe. We now have around 10,000 chemicals in our food, while Europe has only 400. For example, titanium dioxide, potentially linked to DNA damage and cancer, is banned in the EU, but it's in our children's food. Potassium bromate, a suspected carcinogen, banned in Europe and Japan. And you guessed it, it's in our children's bread. Food dyes such as red dye 40 and yellow 5 and 6 come with warning labels in Europe. They're linked to behavioral issues in children, but in the US, they're generally recognized as safe. I can't really blame the food companies. They're just doing what we've allowed them to get away with in a system that's taken on a life of its own. We all agree now that it's time to change the system, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I am today directing the FDA commissioner to start the process of changing the rules to eliminate the self-affirming GRAS pathway for new ingredients. I'm also directing the FDA and NIH to ramp up post-market assessments of GRAS chemicals currently in our food so that we can rapidly identify the compounds that are making Americans so sick, and so that American consumers and regulators can make informed decisions. This issue isn't going away. Moms aren't going to return to wanting chemicals in our food that are banned in other developed countries. Even industry knows that we have to change. So I promise you, I'm going to work with all parties, the companies, the moms, the scientists, the consumer advocates, to make American food the healthiest in the world the way that it was when I was a child.
You always see these videos of like people in the 1960s and 70s versus people today. And I went out over the weekend. We went, William had like a driver's class all day, and we didn't want to be too far away in case, it ended early. So we went out and we were walking around. We probably walked like 2 miles around this big complex, little shops and fun little things and whatever. And we just couldn't help ourselves but to look around and see so many people in motorized scooters, wheelchairs with canes, just ridiculously unhealthy and overweight. And I don't judge people for being overweight, but you know what? Like, there are other options and people don't have that information. And so that's why I am doing this. There are other options. The one choice you make every single day, no matter what, is what you put in your mouth. You have complete and total control over what you consume as food. That is completely in your control. You can, even if you're on SNAP, choose to buy something other than Doritos and white bread that doesn't ever go moldy because it's fake, and all of this other stuff people are buying. If you can't pronounce the ingredients on the labels of your food, why would you put it in your mouth and eat it and consume it? Over time, our bodies are so beautiful and so well constructed by God, again, that they don't even figure it out how they work half the time. It's a miracle the way we are, the way we're made. And our bodies can tolerate chemicals for a while, until things start sneaking up on you and you're waking up with achy knees and everything else. When you're healthy, you don't look to Big Pharma for a pill to make you feel well. When you're healthy, you don't look to vaccine manufacturers to give you a vaccine for the latest virus, because you know you're healthy and your immune system will take care of it. Everything stems from your health, and all of that stems from what you guys eat. And it's, again, completely in your control what you eat every day, how you choose to nourish yourself. You don't have to have, like, sometimes I'll look at the label on something I used to love to eat. Devil dogs, for goodness sakes. Devil dogs. Devil dogs. So good. Loved them. My favorite. I used to snap them in half and eat the cream off of them, and then eat the actual cookie or cake, whatever you want to call it. Read the ingredients. Maybe we should do it together. Let's see. Devil dogs. Drake's Devil Dogs. Nutrition facts. 7 boxes of Drake's Devil Dogs. Here we go. Okay. Enriched flour, wheat flour, niacin, reduced iron, thiamine monocitrate, riboflavin, folic acid, sugar, water, high fructose corn syrup, palm oil, cocoa, cornstarch, salt, soy, Natural and artificial flavors, yellow 5, red 40, blue 1. Products best by date may vary. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. Let's see. Nutrition information. I want to see what kind of ingredients are in this. Devil dogs. To give you recipes and everything. They don't make it easy to find, do they? No, they don't. I can't even find it. They don't even show the box. Like I can't even find it on their website. That should tell you everything you need to know. So this is the problem. And even like I said, when you use the apps like Seed Oil Scout, like, is Will telling the story? Oh yeah. We went to Outback. They don't use seed oils there. And Will got a bone-in ribeye steak. And I knew when he got it in front of him there was something on it, but he ate it anyway. Garlic butter, quote. He usually tells them not to put anything on it and just to deliver that damn hunk of meat to him plain, but didn't. And it made him sick. Made him sick. It made him sick. Straight up. Days. Chills. Terrible tummy upset. Flu-like symptoms. Let me pull up the Zoom chat. I know Dr. Dentist Mark is here. So I'm going to pull up the Zoom and let's get him in here and see what he's got to say today. And I really have to stop at 3. I cannot go a moment over. And also, I wanted to say, this is kind of probably should have been the beginning of the show. I'm going to have to move this show back to 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The 5-day week schedule is so hard to maintain with all the prep that goes into a show and everything else that I'm doing, that I'm being very inconsistent with my show schedule, which is not fair to anybody. And I can't seem to keep it under control. Things are popping up left and right. I need to be, at certain meetings and other things that I can't be at if I'm like, I can't, it's just really hard. So I think starting tomorrow, the show will be 3 days a week. So there'll be a Wednesday and a Friday show, no Tuesdays and Thursdays show. There is the link to the chat. Let me pin it up. We have literally 12 minutes, Dr. Dentist, for the group to see you. And I'm really sorry about that because I made the show 5 days a week before I had taken on a couple of other commitments that are very, very important to me and everyone. And so I feel bad that I'm doing this, but I'd rather be able to give you quality and consistency and be able to schedule things on Tuesdays and Thursdays that I can't schedule Monday, Wednesday, and Friday than continue to cancel shows here and there. Here he is. Our Monday guest is here. Eventually he'll come in. I allowed it. Where is he? Come on, man. Huh. Oh, here he is.
Can you see me?
Yes, we see you.
I doubled up again, it looks like.
You're going to see what I see, what the people see out there in people world watching the show. So like what you're seeing on the screen here in my picture is what everyone else sees.
Oh, I need to turn off something.
You do? You turned off your mic?
I don't know, is my mic on?
Now it is.
I keep hearing myself, but I don't know if I'm. We need to some quality discussion about the shit in the food. Is that what you want to talk about?
Yeah, I have 10 minutes on the dot.
I don't know if I should turn off. Shoot, I don't know if I turn off 2 mics.
Well, I hear you, so maybe your rumble is on the computer and you're hearing yourself echo.
I just have to turn off my rumble and talk to you, I guess, because I can't. I'm doing.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna leave. No, that's soon. Jeez, I'm screwed up. I don't know why I'm doing that.
That's all right. It happens to the best.
How about this? How about this now? Okay, I got it. Yeah.
You're good.
Okay.
You're good now?
Yeah. Yeah, so some of the crap in the food, I understand that the dyes were identified, but they're still in there. So I don't know. They need to work fast.
Yeah, they're going to be in there until at least 2027. That's the problem. Like,
it's so stupid. Yeah.
Like by the time 2027 rolls around, it's going to be so close to the end of the administration. But like he said in his video, RFK, no mom is going to go back to wanting their kids to eat the poison, which is why I've said from the beginning, if HHS did nothing else other than dump information for 4 straight years, it would change everything so much that I don't think you could ever go back.
I think if they can be putting out propaganda in the right way instead of the other way.
It's not really propaganda if it's real.
Yeah, I mean, I think press releases about what they've identified as, I think I sent you a little letter about this, but whatever, they're manufacturing this stuff straight up for Europe and Canada, so why can't they just stop making the stuff here that's bad and switch it out immediately?
There's no well, I guess because there's so much product already produced that they want to try and sell it. But like Gigi said, nobody's buying this crap anymore. People are, but not many. And that is great. But that's also why it's so important that we make sure we're talking about the things they, like Benny calling Steak and Shake healthy.
Well, it's amazing how somehow you got momentum underneath that and bugging them for them to acknowledge that they pre-fried them, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, the food manufacturing is all the sneaky things they do. You know, so there's 16, 20, 30 names for sugar, you know. So
and why sugar and also high fructose corn syrup? Like,
yeah.
How much sugar can you cram into something before it's mind blowing, and it is addictive. It is literally designed to be addictive, like physically addictive, like a drug. I'm not exaggerating, correct?
Yeah, the taste bud for sweets is attached to an afferent nerve, goes right to the brain and releases dopamine, which is your quick fix when you're gambling or porn or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Now, I have a dentist question for you.
Sure. That's what I'm here for.
Well, I mean, I'm going to consider you all things from now on.
Well, we talked about staying in our lane. I can get out of my lane so easily.
There's no lanes here. This
Yeah.
is health. This is all health. It's all one big thing. So
yeah.
I got your email, by the way. I have not had a minute even to read it because I want to read it when I'm focused on it. I don't want to read it half-assed and not be focused on what you're saying. So I think tomorrow will be the day that I can sit with it and really give it the respect it deserves, because you obviously worked very hard on that.
Well, as much as I could. Yeah. I just want to be in the MAHA movement.
You're in the MAHA movement, baby. Got my arm right around you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so Jamie in the chat said she has an abscess but no dental insurance. What can she do?
Oh, well, when you have an abscess that's raised up and the tissues are swelling, you'll get a cellulitis, and then it can travel to places you don't want it to travel
Like your
to.
brain?
So, yeah, I mean, there are cases. There's a case in Maryland where the boy died from multiple abscesses. So, I mean, if that doesn't happen, honestly, it doesn't happen that often. It'll probably break in the area first, but they need an antibiotic and they need an X-ray. They need the tooth out, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a number of other things too. Like, it could be a perio abscess, which is a major problem too. But it depends on what kind of abscess. It could be a tooth or something else.
How much does that usually cost in the Northeast?
Yeah, I'm bad with the numbers, but I mean, you have to call around for an emergency exam and find out what it costs to get a tooth removed, or as you guys say, tooth pulled.
It's probably about between $500 and $800 all in, I would assume.
Yeah, something like that.
Can we I had a question I was going to ask you. Shoot.
But it's, you can do a lot of saltwater rinses locally. You can use some things like clove oil. You can put compresses, but that tends to make it go a little bit more wild if you do hot, because you'll break it open. But it's a serious thing. I mean, people die from that, and they find skulls that they know they died from a dental infection. So it's pretty serious.
Yeah, and when you said no numbers, like you're not good with the numbers, it made me think about the stats that I was told about when I was a lab manager. The dental field, doctors, dentists, have the highest suicide rate out of all professions.
Well, that's the mercury. That's the mercury.
I think it's the stress.
Well, it's mercury, because when you cut a mercury filling, there's 3,000 micrograms per cubic meter of mercury vapor around a patient and us. And it's a terrible occupational hazard. So, I mean, I work safely, and that's what I teach. But their dentists, my friends, are all doing what I call dirty dentistry because they're not aware of it. And so that's why I'm speaking up now. Everybody else is talking their truth. So
it's
time
awesome.
for me. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's something, I watched a video this morning of someone who had a full mouth of, they basically got, they're going to do bar implants, right? And I'm looking at him, and he explains what happened to his teeth. He had gastric bypass surgery, and something went wrong, and that caused him to vomit continuously, and it basically eroded his gums and his teeth, which it will. Stomach acid is pretty potent. And he never paid any, he put it aside and didn't give it the attention it deserved, and then ended up with teeth that were basically rotting.
Yeah.
And he finally got them out and got his new smile. And the change in him, when you look at your mouth and you have beautiful teeth, people don't understand how much that changes people's lives. We used to do case studies on big cases like that, where we would work with the dentist the whole process. And it's so important to your health in so many ways.
Well, the two things that you brought up, one is, I should say, bulimia is a bad thing. It still happens. Girls and boys still do it. And you get cavities on the inside of your teeth that are hard for us to fix. But then the other thing is that you're saying, when someone loses all their teeth, they still have to have a good terrain, and they still need to eat well. So I talk about the building blocks for bone, which there are more than 20 vitamins and minerals for that. But you can have all that destruction, get healthy, and then get implants and lose the implants. So I teach the whole way around. Try to get the terrain right first.
So sad to see implant cases fail.
Yeah.
So much work to go through, so much stress on your body. That's why I chickened out.
Yeah. But the main thing we're talking about is prevention, which I like to talk about with people. Getting the food turned around real quick should be like, maybe that's a big money saver, really, because of the dental bills later.
Yeah.
Like the health bill, people are disabled, like you were, I think it's like every few pounds, they're like 5 pounds is like a pound, a certain amount of weight on your knees and joints. And, people say I'm skinny, but I'm like a Frank Sinatra guy from the 50s. I did a little deep dive on that because my family just said I was thin again. But I mean, I'm strong as heck, and I could do 10 pull-ups, and I do 100 jumping jacks in the morning and all that kind of stuff, and yoga. But and I feel great, sleep well, no meds. But when you don't look like everybody else, that's when you get ridiculed. When you don't talk like everybody else, you get ridiculed.
I have had people tell me I'm too skinny now, including my frickin' doctor, which I think is unbelievable. And I've also had people say that to my husband too. And it's like, Would you rather us be the other way, like inflamed, unhappy, and unwell? Or would you rather us be healthy, what our normal body weight should be, and like it's bullshit.
Yeah, the seed oils are the big problem, but the ratio of omega-3s to 6s, and I was just reading about like a leg of lamb that's grass-fed might be 1-to-1, but the omega-6s are the ones we get too many of. So factory farms like 1-to-25, 1-to-15. And that goes down this pathway of arachidonic acid and an all-inflammatory pathway. That's why it causes so much trouble.
You're so helpful. I love having... next week on Monday, I'm going to dedicate a whole half hour to our conversation. So we have a whole half hour.
I hope I'm not working next week. I think I'm not.
I mean, if you can't, you can't. It's fine. Just tell me in the morning.
Okay.
And then we'll do a whole half hour. We'll try and take some folks up here to pick your brain.
It's hard to read. The chat's going pretty fast, but I guess someone will read that chat. I like just talking to you like it's just us.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
This is the greatest thing ever. This is what like every podcast should be, for goodness sakes. Like, it's just...
Yeah, I called Frank just to talk, just because I was like feeling like I'm recovering from my trip. I picked up something on the plane, if you believe in that. But I was run down, and so just taking it easy at night. I called his show, and I talked about not polishing amalgams, and someone really thought that was a valuable little pearl, which is the hygienist might polish your amalgams if you have them. Do not polish amalgams. So that's the little tip I gave on that show, and I like to contribute any way I can.
Well, you're very helpful, and I love talking to you, so you're becoming a permanent fixture now.
Yeah, the legislation for CHIP, or SNAP, they call it here, it is up to 9 to 11% sugary drinks, and then we see all the I'm going to say all the shit that happens afterwards, because the kids get they're not good at cleaning their teeth, and they just get loaded with the acid, and then there's the plaque theory, and then there's an immune theory. So there's a number of reasons why their caries rates are bad.
If I have to subsidize people's eating, then I want my money to be used to make them healthy, not sick. That's it. End of story. If I'm forced to have my tax dollars feed other people, they damn well better be eating good.
Yeah. I have some the old war coupons, and I mean, really, they should just get cheese, milk, butter, eggs,
bacon,
meat. Yeah. Anyway, it would if we could revolutionize that. I know it's tricky because of corn and ethanol. They're using corn for. I don't know how they get oil out of corn, but anyway, that's another.
We don't have to eat it though. We have a choice.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have to go because I have a meeting. But
well, fantastic that I could be on. And
yeah.
Even just a little time is nice to get the routine for me. Learn how to do this. You're so good at it.
Putting you in a routine.
Yeah.
It's my job. I saw you in the pre-show too, but you were a little too late. So.
Yeah. I didn't know how to do that, but I learned.
You're getting there. Look at you.
I am 50. I'm going to be 59 in March this month.
You've been around the entire time technology has been evolving. It's not like you're like in your 90s and didn't have technology for like half your life. Like you were. No,
I know. I bought my own plane tickets. I know how to do it.
Congratulations. All right. Well, I will see you soon, friend.
Okay.
All right.
And listen for the birds. They're really awesome
the
right
birds?
now. Yeah, and I found out someone who's doing some work with crows, and never make an enemy with a crow, because they know and they remember and they actually pass it on epigenetically.
Oh, shit.
I know. That's a good one. My son and I were laughing because, I'm going to try to make friends with a crow today. It's kind of funny.
If you do one thing today, make friends with a crow.
But they also could be telling you something too, I think.
Well, that's why they use them as messenger birds.
Yeah.
Crows and ravens. All right.
Okay, well, thanks, Tracy. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Mark. Dr.
Ciao.
Dentist. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We will see you back here on Wednesday with a beautiful, wonderful show on Wednesday. And I hope this was valuable for you. Hope this was valuable.